A new type of vessel is sailing right into the U.S. Navy's arsenal, one capable of tracking, chasing, and destroying enemies hiding underwater. And it can do it without a single sailor on board. Its name is Spectre, an unmanned submarine hunting vessel recently unveiled by the American maritime defense company Sail Drone. While it took over 2 years of design work to assemble it, Spectre couldn't have arrived at a better time, as rising tensions over the Strait of Hormuz have many worried about a potential direct naval encounter between the United States and the Iranian Navy, which, according to recent reports, hosts somewhere between 28 and 30 submarines in its arsenal. While perhaps not as capable as America's underwater boats, Iranian submarines spread across the Persian Gulf could still pose a considerable threat to U.S. and foreign vessels patrolling the area. Their Turek-class boats are equipped with 6 533mm tubes, which can carry up to 18 torpedoes, and also release about 24 mines. Of course, Iranian submarines are not the only naval adversaries America has to keep an eye on. China has a wide range of nuclear-powered attack submarines that can travel up to 30 knots underwater, while North Korea is believed to have as many as 86 submarines ready to be deployed, some even capable of launching ballistic missiles against their targets. For comparison, the U.S. currently has about 71 submarines in the fleet. Currently, America has a couple of ways to hunt for enemy submarines. The first is by striking from the skies. Systems like the U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon have been described by officials as, quote, the eyes and ears of the fleet. Hovering over 40,000 feet above carriers and convoys to search for and neutralize any potential threats through the use of sonobuoys, radars, cameras, and a weapon suite, including missiles, mines, and depth charges. The second method of attack is through conventional systems directly in the water. On the surface, ground missile destroyers from the Arleigh Burke class have proven exceptional in identifying targets and silencing them with torpedoes. Beneath the waves, the fast-attack Seawolf-class submarines have been hunting ballistic missile submarines for decades. The third and most recent method of submarine defense is where Spectre comes in. Unmanned naval platforms are leaving their experimental status and entering official service. Among the most notable autonomous American units is the Sea Hunter, a 132-foot-long vessel capable of sailing for up to 90 days without rest, which is expected to eventually serve in anti-submarine efforts for a cost of only about 3% of what a regular destroyer costs. Spectre could soon take America's autonomous fleet one step further. This new vessel, coming in at about 170 feet, is around the size of a mega yacht and about 100 tons heavier than the Sea Hunter. Still, the Spectre can reach speeds of up to 30 knots and has a range of 8,000 nautical miles. However, what makes the Spectre truly special is its versatility. Spectre can come in 2 variants, depending on what the mission calls for. The Silent Endurance is intended for long operations and is equipped with a tail wing that feeds an electric system, allowing the drone to move slowly and quietly across the waves, while also monitoring its surroundings with integrated sensors. For missions in which Spectre is tasked with entering contested battlefields and carrying out direct attacks, the Stealth Strike model is expressly designed to keep a low profile, even as it darts at higher speeds and launches missiles or mines across the area. The public will have to wait until sea trials to witness Spectre's capabilities in action. Still, if the system fulfills the promise that Sail Drone is making, then America's adversaries may soon find their sea warriors are no longer powerful enough to sneak up on the U.S. Navy. The Marine Corps is preparing to receive a platform originally intended for the U.S. Army, which will reshape the way naval infantry carry out their missions. When the Bell V-280 Valor, now officially renamed as the Bell MV-75 Cheyenne II, was first introduced more than a decade ago, it was intended as an assault unit from which Army soldiers could patrol and secure wide spans of contested territory. The concept had so much promise that in recent years, it was even announced that the Cheyenne II was poised to replace the Sikorsky UH-60 Blackhawk, one of the longest-serving utility helicopters in America's arsenal, with nearly 50 years of experience. Its proposed design is a tiltrotor configuration, in which the system's dual rotors are mounted at the tips of its wings. While said to reduce the ability to carry heavier payloads, this design is considered to deliver faster speeds and quieter flight, ideal for strike operations over enemy territory, where hitting quickly and unexpectedly is preferred. While still in development, the Cheyenne II is believed to eventually reach cruising speeds of around 320 miles per hour. The Boeing CH-47 Chinook, currently considered one of the speediest helicopters in America's arsenal, has a maximum speed of 200 miles per hour, while the Black Hawk has a hard time going over 183 miles per hour. Speed is not the only impressive feature of the Cheyenne II. When it comes to range, it's expected that the unit could cover around 2,400 miles of terrain and have an effective combat reach of up to 920 miles, more than 2 times farther than the Army's current main helicopters. According to Keith Flail, former program director at Bell, quote, "If you can go twice as fast and twice as far, you've eliminated the need for forward arming and refueling points. You can basically have one forward operating base in the middle of Afghanistan and cover the entire country." Boasting such technological potential, it wouldn't take long before other military branches started looking into incorporating the Cheyenne II into their own arsenals. Recent reports indicate that the Marine Corps is looking to upgrade its fleet by replacing its AH-1Z Viper and UH-1Y Venom helicopters with a new version of the Cheyenne II. Unveiled at the latest modern-day Marine, the largest military equipment exposition for naval infantry. Currently referred to simply as the new MV-75 model, the design mimics the Cheyenne II's characteristic tiltrotor configuration and narrow fuselage, yet it stands out by incorporating a new set of weapons. In the concepts displayed at the exposition, analysts noted that naval strike missiles were mounted alongside the unit's fuselage. These payloads, currently deployed primarily on ground and naval platforms, are reportedly capable of flying low over the water and tracking moving targets through infrared systems immune to jamming. Bell also mentioned that the unit would be able to carry AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System 2 rockets, and even Altius 700M loitering munitions, capable of remaining airborne for over an hour and covering up to 100 miles of terrain before finding their target. The unit is also said to be fitted with an advanced sensor turret in its nose to help the crew identify targets and pursue them over hundreds of miles if necessary, remaining airborne thanks to the aircraft's in-flight refueling capabilities. And so, while it hasn't been stated when this new MV-75 model is expected to become operational, once the Marine Corps takes it on board, they'll be commanding a platform from which they'll be able to protect even the most remote and inaccessible locations. Ever since the Kratos XQ-58 Valkyrie combat drone first took off in early 2019, the system has mostly remained an experimental model. However, new tests point to its integration with existing systems and possible deployments. America's naval infantry is looking to upgrade the lethality of its aerial strikes. To do so, it wants to give its supersonic fighters a new sidekick, and for some officials, the best way to achieve this is not by pairing them with another jet, but rather with a stealthy, unmanned fighter ready to take on the battlefield. And the XQ-58 is looking like the best candidate. However, before the drone can officially be recruited to serve as the Marine Corps' latest wingman, it will need to prove that it has what it takes to keep up with the F-35 Lightning II fighter, the main craft planned to lead the branch's upcoming drone-enhanced missions. The very first test the XQ-58 has to ace is taking off from a runway. It's not that this unmanned vehicle hasn't flown before. In fact, since its first unveiling, the XQ-58 has conducted several test flights, including some alongside F-15E Strike Eagle fighters. However, so far, most of the drone's missions have been launched with it mounted on a rail system and shot upward by an external rocket. In some demonstrations, the XQ-58 is also lifted off via a trolley launch system, darting across the runway atop a small wheeled platform that's left behind as soon as it leaves the ground. Whenever it's time to descend, the drone normally deploys a parachute and is then retrieved by ground crews. But to carry out routine missions alongside the F-35, The Marine Corps wants the XQ-58 to be able to take off and land using a conventional mechanism, which makes it easier to reuse. Engineers have already begun work on this new upgrade for the XQ-58, and while final prototypes are not ready, the drone is expected to attempt a conventional runway takeoff sometime this summer. The exact role the XQ-58 is intended to perform alongside the F-35 is described as a loyal wingman, a sort of shadow agent that can be remotely controlled by the pilot inside the fighter jet to either fly ahead, locate potential threats, and help the human crew recalibrate their trajectories to avoid danger. If a battle is inevitable, however, the drones will be just as ready to fight alongside the F-35s. While there has been concern that the addition of conventional takeoff and landing gear could reduce the amount of payload these drones can carry, Kratos, the company behind the unmanned system, has assembled a set of mini cruise missiles that can carry an 80-pound payload, operate at an altitude of 35,000 feet, and best of all, fit right under the wings of the XQ-58. It's been reported that the system will also be able to carry AIM-120 air-to-air missiles, lightweight bombs, and potentially even smaller attack drones. When combined with the F-35's own weapons suite, which can target aerial, ground, and naval threats, the Marine Corps would be able to assemble an aerial fortress that few enemies would be able to break through. And even if one does, the drones would be ready to intercept it, flying into an incoming missile or ramming an enemy aircraft before it reaches the main jets in the formation. This last ability would not only provide a new way to ensure crew survival during missions, but also help reduce military costs during long campaigns, given that while the XQ-58 has an estimated cost of between $2 and $4 million, this price tag doesn't compare to that of the F-35, which can easily surpass $100 million per unit. Of course, for any of this to be possible, the XQ-58 will first have to complete its first task, so when the time comes for it to take off from the runway in a couple of months, more than one official will be keeping an eager eye on the skies. Ever since an American F-15E Strike Eagle was downed over Iran in early April, the need for a system that can protect non-steady aircraft conducting operations over enemy territory has become a priority for the United States. The Navy believes it has found just the right weapon to fulfill this role. But whether or not it can be deployed fast enough to gain an edge over Iran remains to be seen. The full name of the system is the AARGM-ER, Advanced Anti-Radiation Guided Missile Extended Range, although most refer to it simply as AARGM-ER, and it could soon become the most effective method to blind enemy air defenses. While missiles designed specifically to carry out anti-radar strikes have been around for decades, the AARGM-88 family is considered among the most notable. Armed with an internal millimeter-wave radar seeker installed at the tip of their noses, these missiles can spot and pursue an enemy system on the ground, even when it's not transmitting. On a battlefield like Iran, where enemy troops can continuously transport mobile radar stations across rugged, mountainous terrain, AARGM-88 missiles promise to make crews' lives easier. Once in the air, the rocket systems are able to locate radar emissions and adjust their position to zero in on their target. But that's not where this system's capabilities end. Once the missile approaches its target location, it can analyze the area, identifying impact zones and targets to avoid, such as camps, hangars, or civilian outposts. The rocket continues gathering information on its targets as it descends, confirming it's tracking the correct target until the very end, and transmitting gathered intelligence back via satellite. The best part is that the AARGM-88 missiles are designed not only to attack ground targets, but also to engage naval assets, giving the U.S. Navy the firepower to counter threats spreading across the Persian Gulf. According to Orbital ATK, one of the aerospace manufacturers involved in the system's development before its acquisition by Northrop Grumman, once the aircraft identifies enemy threats on the sea surface, pilots can directly download coordinates into the missile, enabling it to find its target even faster. While the exact range of the new AARGM-88 model hasn't been made public yet, sources suggest that boasting a 290mm diameter rocket motor, the AARGM-ER could travel twice as far as former variants, potentially allowing it to cover up to 180 miles of terrain before finding its target, helping pilots launch strikes while remaining as far away from contested zones as possible. It's been reported that the Navy plans to have the first operational deployment of the new AARGM-ER on board its FA-18EF Super Hornet and EA-18G Growler jets, both of which have been carrying out missions over Iran throughout Operation Epic Fury to varying levels of effectiveness. However, before this upgrade can take place, the new missile must be cleared for deployment, and experts warn it could be a long time before U.S. aircraft deploy the AARGM-ER across the battlefield. According to a report from the Government Accountability Office, quote, "The AARGM-ER experienced significant delays as a result of rocket motor, structural, and software problems discovered during testing. We found that starting production before demonstrating the system will work as intended, which the Navy did, increases the risk of discovering deficiencies that require costly, time-intensive rework." It's also been reported that work on the missile had become so difficult for the Navy that the purchase of the missiles will be temporarily paused, potentially delaying their arrival even further. Still, officials are not giving up on the AARGM-ER just yet, and while the future of the missile is uncertain, the Navy has stated it intends to ensure operational capability by September of this year. A tall order to fulfill, but one which could break the stalemate in Iran if achieved.